The MP40 VS Owen Gun, the most used SMG, and the highest KD sub in Warzone. We're going to figure out which one is better up close and which one is better as a sniper support by looking at their stats in depth, then I'll give you the best class setups for each weapon. Welcome back, I'm Austin, and let's start by going over one of the most important stats, fire rate, where both weapons really struggle with. The MP40 is at 600 rounds per minute to the Owen's 500. However, the good news is we have a few attachments to fix this issue, and on their best class setups, the MP40 is going to get up to a great 779 rounds per minute, and the Owen to 625. When looking at their damage profiles and time to kills, I will be using these fire rates with the weapons, or else they're going to look really bad. For example, the base MP40 has an 800 millisecond time to kill up close on Caldera. Trust me, it's much better when you get the 779 fire rate. The faster fire rate is also going to be a huge help to both because it makes them much more forgiving, and let's switch over to see how much damage these weapons are going to do. The Owen's going to have a big time advantage here in average damage at both ranges. Normally both weapons will have 3 damage ranges, but on their setups I removed the third one, making them much better over range. The Owen has a higher damage, which makes a lot of sense due to its slower fire rate. One thing I want to point out with the MP40 that makes it super noob friendly is that its chest and stomach shot damage are higher than its head and neck shot damage with the barrel that I'm using. It not only increases the time to kill, but makes it easier to achieve this because your fastest time to kill is shooting the largest and easiest part of the body to hit. The Owen gun, however, is more forgiving in the sense that it has a better damage all around, making the time to kill better in every area outside of the torso. This makes the weapon more forgiving when you aren't exclusively hitting chest or stomach shots. Right before I talk about their time to kills, I want to go over their base ranges where the Owen gun will once again have the advantage with 15 meters to 12. This is a 25% increase on the MP40, and that gap is only going to widen when we stack attachments on. This is a bigger deal than the 3 meters might seem. Alright, now let's get to the stat everyone cares about the most, time to kill. At close range, the most likely TTK is going to go to the MP40 at an absurd 616 milliseconds to 672. By the way, these are the time to kills at 300 health. For clarification, these are the TTKs with my class setups, so make sure to stick around for those. You probably already know this was coming, as the MP40 with the 3 busted attachments is the second fastest killing SMG at close range, only behind the Type 100. But the Owen gun is still great and has many other advantages you'll soon learn about. But 56 milliseconds is a substantial difference. However, like I said earlier, the Owen gun has a faster time to kill at every location other than chest or stomach shots. If you can't hit center mass, the Owen will perform better. But if we look at the long range time to kill, the Owen gun is just faster at 768 milliseconds to 770. I know that's a huge difference. The gap is much larger when you get a neck shot or two. This is a big advantage because it doesn't matter where you land your shots, the Owen will always have a faster time to kill than the MP40 past 12 meters. In most engagements, you will be dealing with players past 12 meters at some point. You typically want to have around a 750 to 775 millisecond time to kill at long range, which both of these weapons fall into, but will their recoil allow us to use them out there? So now if we're going to take a quick look at the recoil patterns on screen, what you're going to notice is that the Owen gun is much more vertical, as in it doesn't go side to side at all, where the MP40 has a gradual tilt to the side. So that's going to make the Owen gun a lot easier to aim over range, because you only have to account for pulling down your analog stick or pulling back your mouse. Whereas the MP40, you are going to have to do some slight corrections going to the left, because the recoil pattern does just drift off to the right. Therefore, that's going to make the Owen gun better over range. With all this talk of recoil, we have to discuss how it affects their time to kills. The slower the fire rate, the more guns are affected by missing shots, and you can tell that just from the TTK drop-off of adding 1 more bullet to kill. With every extra bullet it takes to kill someone, the Owen gun will add 96 milliseconds to its TTK, while the MP40 only adds 77 milliseconds to its time to kill for every extra shot, making it 19 milliseconds more forgiving. That is a moderate difference and one to definitely consider when choosing between these weapons. Next up, damage per mag at close and long range is going to be the Owen gun by miles, because it not only has more damage per shot, it also has a way bigger magazine of 72 to 45. This will definitely play a big factor into the larger game modes like trios and quads, while playing no factor in solos. The extra damage makes the Owen easier to use. Switching over to close range damage per second, with the MP40 winning by quite a bit with 459 to 413. Going to the long range damage per second, the MP40 is slightly better with 360 to 351. All that means is the MP40 can have more damage output per second, which makes a lot of sense with the better fire rate and the better time to kill. Finally, going over to the movement stats, the MP40 is going to be better with strafe, ADS movement, sprint to fire, and movement. Then they're going to be identical in aim down sight speed. The movement advantages are important for the MP40, but they aren't drastic and very minimal. But since every millisecond counts when you're playing Warzone, definitely still a valuable plus to the MP40. These slight differences affect how we set up the weapons in our classes. Make sure to subscribe, then you get notified when more Warzone videos are released. I've given you the information, and it's time for my verdict on which weapon is better. The Owen Gun is a sniper support and the MP40 for close range because it is stupidly good up close. The Owen Gun's better recoil, range, and damage per mag all cater towards it being a better sniper support. It still goes to work up close, but is versatile enough to easily deal with engagements 30, 40, even 50 meters out. While you couldn't quite do that with the MP40, and speaking of the MP40, it has the second fastest time to kill up close by hitting chest and stomach shots with my setup, making it ridiculously easy to use. Nothing quite compares to the custom loadout MP40 that somehow still hasn't gotten nerfed, with it being the most used SMG in Warzone. But the Owen Gun is the highest KD SMG because it is great in more situations than the MP40, even if it isn't elite up close. Let's jump into the best class setups. I'm going to start things off with the MP40 sub build. And what we're going to start off to make this thing have the really good time to kill is going to be the recoil booster, and then the short barrel, which this eliminates the third damage range as well as increases the limb damage and its range. We don't get any headshot damage, which remember, on my build we get the fastest TTK if we shoot the chest and the torso, and it equates to the second fastest killing SMG. But we also have to run this Recoil 45 round mag. Now we're going to have the 779 round per minute fire rate, the good TTK, and the torso damage being the highest. Now the rest of these attachments are really going to be subject to your preference, but I try to make it as accurate as possible while still having really good movement. So first off, I have subsonic on, that way we don't show up on the minimap with the recoil booster. The Mark V skeletal is going to get us some ADS. The polymer grip is going to help us with sustained fire and flinch resistance. Brace is going to be for accuracy, quick is going to be for movement, and then the folding stock is just for getting a little bit better movement speed and sprint to fire. So this thing's just great, but if you want to use this as a sniper support, there's only two changes I make. I switched the recoil booster up to the M19 silencer, which is going to help us with our recoil because it's going to help us with our accuracy. So that's a big plus. And then we switch off subsonic because we have the silencer on. And we get lengthened, which helps us with our bullet velocity. Therefore, it's going to allow us to get into engagements a little farther out because it's slightly more accurate, and we got a little bit better bullet velocity. But my recommended setup is definitely using this as a sub with subsonic and recoil booster. Now we got my Owen Gun set up, and to get the good fire rate, we throw on this recoil booster with the 72 round Gorenko drum. And so that's going to get us to 625, which makes this gun a lot more forgiving and a lot easier to use. And if you want to get rid of the third damage range, we throw on this Gawan shrouded barrel, which increases our bullet velocity, limb damage, and less damage fall off at range. This makes it way better. The headshot damage does get lowered, but headshots still help this weapon. So the rest of these attachments are going to be up to you, but I'm really trying to increase its movement speed with the two perks and the stock. So our move stock is going to get our ADS up, our movement speed, sprint to fire, aim walking. It's going to make this gun feel a lot more like an SMG because the base weapon is a little bit slower than the MP40 if you remember. Then we got acrobatic for movement speed and sprinting move speed, and then quick is just going to get our sprinting up as well. Now this is the one thing you can change if you don't like this optic, but personally I think it's the best because what it allows us to do, you see how we have the 2.5 times optic here? If you just push down your left stick, you're going to go to the little slate reflector on top, and it pushes the gun and the big magazine out of your way, which is the one really big con to it. So this is nice for me, but if you prefer, you can go up to the slate reflector or the NIDAR. From there, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to be making our recoil not as bad by using the polymer grip, which is for sustained fire and flinch resistance, and then the hand stop for just recoil control in general and accuracy. So this weapon just feels fantastic up close and to mid-range. And then if you want to see another video like this comparing two ARs, I got a video linked right here. Peace.